Hi again, everybody. Jeremy Plonk with First Bet and Express Bet, and welcome in to the It's Official podcast. Each week, I take on 5 hot topics in horse racing, and it's a bittersweet week this week as we take on 5 topics that kind of hit the heart a little bit and also hit the racetrack. We'll go through those in just a moment. Certainly want to send out belated Memorial Day weekend wishes to the families of all those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our country. A happy Memorial Day weekend as we get going here Tuesday and starting our next week of racing. We've got 2 weeks until the Belmont Stakes. There's a little calm before the storm, if you will, but still plenty to talk about. Let's get to the big board and check out our first of 5 hot topics this week. We're back on format now with our Goosebump Award being our first topic. This is the horse who got us out of our seat, got the hair and the bumps on our arms raised and excited to see. And we were really excited to see this filly back on the track overseas in the Irish 1000 Guineas. It was Lake Victoria, dominant last year in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. She was back on her game in the Irish 1000 Guineas.
California Dreamer now being chased down by Lake Victoria, fading as Judy First. City of Memphis stays on, then Flight and Sir City. California Dreamer picked off by the favorite Lake Victoria, who goes to the front in the closing stages, and it is Lake Victoria back on song in the Irish 1000. Second California Dreamer, then Sir City. City of Memphis running on the outside.
That was more like we'd like to see from her. She was 6th in her seasonal return as her 3-year-old debut. Did not go well in the English 1000 Guineas at Newmarket, but she got back and got to Ireland on her home turf and was dominant. This is the filly we expect to see, and she's expected to head back to the Royal Ascot meet next for the Group 1 Coronation Stakes for trainer Aidan O'Brien. It was the 11th time O'Brien had won this race, the Irish 1000 Guineas, and she was back on 21 days rest. But again, that performance in her 3-year-old debut, that's in the rearview mirror now. This 3-time Group 1 winner last year has now notched 4 Group 1 wins. And when you think back to her performance last year in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf, she may have been the most impressive 2-year-old to run in the Breeders' Cup internationally since a Rossi back in the 1991 Juvenile, maybe the best ever on turf. I kind of think so, with her credentials and how good she can be. She's going to be one of the top milers in Europe this year amongst the 3-year-old fillies. Not an Epsom Oaks kind of filly to go 1.5 miles. They'll leave that to others. But this daughter of Frankel is just absolutely sensational around the mile trip. And I think that's where they're going to try to keep her. Coronation next Group 1 company. When she comes back here, perhaps for the Breeders' Cup in the fall, I wouldn't think filly and mare turf. I would think Breeders' Cup Mile, and we've seen so many great 3-year-old fillies over the years run bangers in the Breeders' Cup Mile. Lake Victoria back on her game, and really that was great to see, and that's this week's Goosebump Award coming from overseas. She certainly got the excitement back in her second start this year. Let's go to the second topic this week on the big board, and it's a small group of horses are back to work towards the Belmont Stakes. A field of 6 possibles for the Belmont Stakes coming up. We've got the draw for the Belmont coming up about 13 days time from now, and the Belmont Stakes is looking at a field of potentially 6. We could have a rematch between the Kentucky Derby winner, that being Sovereignty, the Preakness winner, who was also the Derby runner-up in journalism, and Baeza, third place finisher in the Kentucky Derby. Those are 3 of the 6 possibles expected right now. Also Rodriguez, Hill Road, and Heart of Honor, horses who are pointed towards the Belmont Stakes as we speak here, a little less than 2 weeks out. Now, as for the horses who have been back on the workout tab, let's start with Sovereignty. He was in a very interesting workout here on May 24th, back a few days ago. He's working to the outside of his stablemate Arthur's Ride. Arthur's Ride, the older horse for the Belmont Barn, who won the Whitney Stakes last year. We haven't seen Arthur's Ride since the Breeders' Cup Classic last fall. He's 4 workouts back into his comeback. Second work for him since coming back to Saratoga. It's also the second work for Sovereignty since the Triple Crown debut bid for him in winning the Kentucky Derby. You see, he easily comes up to the outside of Arthur's Ride here. From a tactical standpoint, Arthur's Ride is a speed horse in his races, and he looks like he's kind of struggling as Sovereignty kind of goes by him with some ease. I don't think this was a great company work for the duo, but 102.54 the time in here, and certainly the way Sovereignty's going, he seems to be going fine into this race. He's had 2 works on cue, May 17th, May 24th, right back to back. But again, I don't think Arthur's ride kind of really made him work too hard in this work. And it might have been the plan for Belmont. Look, they know they've got a fit horse. They want a 1.25 mile race, 5 weeks between the Derby and the Belmont Stakes. 2 workouts right on pattern. He'll get another workout this coming weekend and then probably be set to go. A good gallop out here, though, for Sovereignty as you get a look at him finishing up there. Again, a tandem workout. It's always good to kind of know who you're working with. And Mott may not have the 3-year-olds in his barn to work with Sovereignty, but he certainly has some older horses that can go with him. Another horse who's won the workout tab in recent days was Baeza. And Baeza's working here to the outside of Westwood. You might remember Westwood from the Santa Anita Derby. He was the rabbit in there for Baeza, and he went out to the pace and went after the Baffert runners, Citizen Bull et al. Tried to soften them up for him. Ended up holding nicely for 3rd in that particular spot. So even though he's a maiden at 0 for 4, Westwood, a good work made in here for Baeza. You know, same age, same kind of quality that you're looking at in these 2 colts. But I think Baeza, obviously the stronger of the 2. And he starts to go by that one on the turn. 6 furlong workout here at Santa Anita. And it's going to be an easy pull away here as Baeza goes by him and runs, on his own through the lane here. Baeza is going to come into the Kentucky Derby or from the Kentucky Derby into the Belmont Stakes. No race in between, of course. He skipped the Preakness by plan. He did go back to Southern California, so it added some travel. You would expect that for a trainer like John Sheriff. He doesn't have a string in Kentucky, doesn't have a big staff, so he's not going to keep a horse this good, that far away from him that long. So it was a little extra travel for Baeza after Louisville, going back to the West Coast. And then he looks like he's set up now. One more work for him between now and the Belmont Stakes. But if you're looking at a horse, I think that you'd certainly want to watch as the main threat in here to the big 2 between the Derby and Preakness winner. Baeza, I think, is really the horse you've got to keep an eye on. He's fresh and he's got, a upside to him still. I thought his Kentucky Derby effort was really good from a very difficult post position and, a situation where this horse was very green in previous races. Baeza was much more composed in the Kentucky Derby than he was in some easier situations, which kind of shows a little bit of his mental growth perhaps. And I thought this workout was really good. So he's moving in the right direction. Baeza certainly one to watch towards the Belmont Stakes. Also working in recent days was Rodriguez. We saw him work May 23rd at Santa Anita. He's going to go solo in here for Bob Baffert. He was another horse who had traveled these for the Kentucky Derby, but was scratched with a foot issue. Wasn't able to make the Preakness Stakes. Baffert sent him back to Southern California for this workout. He hadn't worked since May 11th, so there's a 12-day gap in his workout tab here, and he comes back, and they don't mess around. They go 7/8 at a very good time, 124.80, 124.4 here, hugging the rail, being asked a little bit down the lane here. They wanted to get something out of Rodriguez because they needed to get something out of Rodriguez. Look at the elbows and the hands pushing here. They are trying to get this horse to finish up. They get a lot out of this workout, but a lot was asked of him in here. So Rodriguez is trying to make up for some lost time. Not only did he miss the starts in the Derby and the Preakness, but again, he kind of had the gap in the workout tab as well. He's got to play catch up. He's asked to gallop out here a little bit and go around the rival in this particular spot. Of course, 7/8 of a mile workout doesn't end at the finish line. It's going to work beyond that to farther poles. So it's like a 2-turn workout the way Baffert works these horses out. And you're going to see him start to pull up here as they pass the 6 furlong pole. So a good work for Rodriguez, but he was asked for a lot in there because they needed to get a lot out of him. And you have to kind of know the intentions of the workouts sometimes. We don't have any workout video of journalism. He hasn't had a workout since the Preakness Stakes, but that's not abnormal. Typically after a big race, it'll take about 14 days for a good horse to get back on the workout tab. So we're just looking right now at what we're about 10 days after the Preakness Stakes right now. So he should be back on the workout tab this weekend and then have one work between the Preakness and the Belmont. That would be right on cue. We do know this about journalism. He's going out to the track in the mornings. He's training at Saratoga. He vanned up there a couple days after the Preakness Stakes. So all is well with journalism right now. We'll just see that one time to work out for him probably coming up this weekend. We'll look forward to talking about that on next week's show. Again, others aiming towards the Belmont Stakes, a field of 6 right now. Hill Road for Chad Brown, the winner of the Peter Pan Stakes, and then Heart of Honor, 5th in the Preakness for Jamie Osborne, looking to stay here in the States after coming overseas. Of course, this horse based in the UK and then raced in Dubai all winter, and then Heart of Honor came to Pimlico for the Preakness and since to Saratoga. So they are looking forward to running in 2/3 of the Triple Crown. That's topic 2 this week. As we switch gears here to topic 3, some sad news to report in the horse racing world. On Sunday, trainer Kristoff Clement, at the age of 59, lost his battle with cancer. In a sad au revoir to the trainer Kristoff Clement, as we bid farewell to him and bid adieu to an outstanding training career, survived by his wife Valerie and his children Charlotte and Miguel. What a heartfelt letter. If you didn't see this on X, Kristoff Clement wrote a letter to the fans of racing and to his fellow horsemen and people in the racing industry upon his passing. I highly suggest you go to X at Clement Stable and read that in its entirety. A couple of the tremendous notes in there. Success without a successor truly isn't success. And he talks about that, how he groomed his son, Miguel, to become the successor of his stable, and how he will take over the training of Clement Stables from this point forward. And really a great message in there. And he finished with the line, enjoy life every single day. From those who know Kristoff Clement, they say that was very true of him. I had limited dealings with him over the years simply because in my work, I worked a lot in television over the years, so about 20 years worth of time, stats and research for a lot of the broadcasts. We broadcast races on TV and horse racing, unfortunately, that weren't in the categories of Kristoff Clement's horses most often, right? Triple Crown prep races, Triple Crown races. A lot of the big 2-year-olds races in the 2000s were televised on TV. Those weren't the wheelhouse of Kristoff Clement. So I didn't get a lot of chance to work alongside and talk with him in a lot of respects. But people who do and people who have worked with him in the industry, there's just been nothing but an outpouring of positivity about him. And from a handicapper standpoint, one of the things about Kristoff Clement I always appreciated was the consistency. If you go back and look at Equibase and run his career form, he's a 19% trainer over the course of his career, and we'll look at some of the statistics and some of the great horses he's had. 19% in his career, and if you just look up and down the line over the last 25, 30 years, he's almost 19% every single year, between 16 and like 20, 21%. There's no wild fluctuations, a remarkable consistency. Number 11 all-time in purse earnings at $184 million, a lot of it on the turf, a lot of it with older horses. And again, we don't put a lot of races for older horses on television unless they're in the handicap division. And he didn't have a lot of horses in the handicap division. Tonalist being one of those, winning the Belmont Stakes of 2014. But his victory with Tonalist was almost one of those apologetic Belmonts. And again, this is part of the reason why I don't think Kristoff Clement gets some of the notoriety as some of the other trainers, in that Tonalist victory in 2014 was similar to Birdstone upsetting Smarty Jones a decade earlier in 2024. It was almost a disappointment to the racing industry. Everybody was California Chrome in 2014, if you remember. I mean, he was just rolling through the first 2 legs of the Triple Crown. Everybody was behind wanting to see Chrome win the Triple Crown in 2014. He would have gotten there a year sooner than what we would end up seeing with American Pharoah. So the long drought, 35, 36 years at that point, a lot of people were in the camp of, California Chrome that year. So when Tonalist won the Belmont, it wasn't this career achievement for Kristoff Clement that we talked about. It was the disappointment, and that is nothing to say to the accomplishment of Tonalist winning that year. He went on to become a great older horse as well. Clement had success with horses like Gio Ponte, came up just short in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Perhaps if Gio Ponte would have won a Breeders' Cup Classic, there would have been more notoriety nationally for Kristoff Clement's career. But there's no question he was respected in the circles of horse racing. Horse players like you and I, fans out there, gamblers, the people in the racing industry, nothing but a ton of respect for his accomplishments and what kind of horseman he was. He just didn't have some of the bravado and pomposity and publicity of some of the other trainers of his contemporaries that got a lot more publicity. But he certainly got respect, enough respect to get on the Hall of Fame ballot in recent years. He didn't quite make it to the Hall of Fame this year. You wonder posthumously next year or a year after if fans may vote Kristoff Clement in with the benefit of some looking back, and he could be honored into the Hall of Fame maybe as soon as next year. Of course, the 2025 ballots were already voted upon and announced for this year's class. It'll be voted in at Saratoga. Clement came up just a bit short there. His 286 graded stakes wins notwithstanding, just an outstanding career for him. I think maybe next year we will see him in the Hall of Fame. But au revoir to Kristoff Clement, and best wishes to his son Miguel as he takes over the reins of Clement Stables. You see young Miguel there on the left, Kristoff on the right talking with jockey Irad Ortiz prior to a race, of course. But Clement Stables will go on. The patriarch passes things down to his son, and Miguel Clement will take over the operation from this point forward. Rest in peace to Kristoff Clement. He was 59 years old. We turn our attention now to topic number 4 this week on It's Official. The holiday card on Monday at Santa Anita was the biggest in the country. 3 graded stakes races, and you would expect the locals to have a strong hand to play there. But instead, it was a trainer coming from Florida, and Safy Joseph Jr., who had 2 stakes wins on the card. It was a really big day for Safy. Not only did he win the Gamely Stakes, he added the Hollywood Gold Cup on the card in quite a double. On the left, you see Be Your Best in her winning run in the Gamely Stakes. She won that as the 2-1 second choice by 2 3/4 lengths. She gutted all the other speed and went wire to wire in there. Earlier this year, it was Be Your Best winning the Pegasus World Cup Filly and Mare Turf. She'd been to Santa Anita in the past when under the care of Horatio De Paz, running second in the American Oaks back in her 3-year-old season. She made a successful West Coast trip and maybe gets back to the West Coast again later this fall for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. We can expect another Breeders' Cup appearance for Skippy Longstocking. He's been in the dirt mile the last couple years. You see him winning the photo on the right side of your screen there. Skippy Longstocking took the Gold Cup, the Hollywood Gold Cup, as the 4-5 favorite. Irad Ortiz rode both winners, and for Skippy Longstocking, what a career he's had now. $3.6 million earned. He's 11 for 32 with 9 stakes wins. 4 grade 2s, 5 grade 3s. He's not won at the grade 1 level, but he has absolutely been campaigned brilliantly, finding the right spots. This was another one as an odds-on favorite. He's now run in 11 different states. And when you think back of everybody talking about horses who run in too much of the Triple Crown, how it burns them out, 5th in the 2022 Preakness with Skippy Longstocking, 3rd in the Belmont that year to Mo Donegal in the Filly Nest. He's gone on to quite a career from the 22 Triple Crown, running in 2/3 of it, to a career down with 11 victories, 9 stakes wins, and again, $3.6 million. Great day on Monday, Memorial Day, for Safy Joseph Jr. and his runners at Santa Anita. And we wrap our day up here on the podcast with our traditional 5th and final topic. It's our Stars of Tomorrow segment. We expect Wesley Ward to debut some outstanding 2-year-olds during the Keeneland meet and also the Royal Palm Juvenile races down in Florida. But at Churchill Downs, maybe the best of his best debuted this past weekend. The name Outfielder. Check this one out.
Skipping Stars in a full-out drive. Outfielder in a jog past the 8th pole. 3-length lead now. Baytown Anubis gives way. Strong trying to come on late, but Outfielder's already at the warning track. Look at this debut. Outfielder coasted home. Won it by 7 on the wire.
5 furlongs and 55.93. The son of Speightstown is out of Nota d'Oro. Nota d'Oro finished her career trained by Kristoff Clement. It all comes back full circle. Outfielder 2-year-old Colt probably headed to Royal Ascot next if he comes out of this race healthy for trainer Wesley Ward. He's aptly named. Part of the ownership group is Jason Worth, who's making quite a name for himself in the racing game. So Outfielder and Jason Worth, the former outfielder, Major League Baseball star, a World Series champion with the Philadelphia Phillies. 6 1/4 length victory for Outfielder, our Star of Tomorrow. Let's wrap up this week's It's Official with a review of the 5 hot topics on the big board. The Goose Bump Award went to Lake Victoria in her victory in the Irish 1,000 Guineas. Back to the winner's circle for the first time since winning the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf last year. We hope to see her back for the Breeders' Cup perhaps in the fall. Next up for her, though, will be the Coronation Stakes at Royal Ascot coming up next month. There's a small group of horses working towards the Belmont Stakes. We got to see 3 workout videos of Sovereignty working in company with Arthur's Ride, Baeza working in company with Westwood, his Santa Anita Derby Rabbit, and Rodriguez working 7/8 solo, trying to make up for some lost time for Bob Baffert. Also headed towards the Belmont, Journalism, Hill Road, and Heart of Honor. Hopefully we'll get a look at their workouts coming up for next week. Au revoir, Kristoff Clement. We talked about the great career of trainer Kristoff Clement, who sadly passed away on Sunday. The brother to an Arc de Triomphe winning trainer, a son of a French trainer himself, the family dripping in history in racing, now passing the baton to his son, who will take over the stable, Miguel Clement. Safy Joseph had himself quite a Monday on Memorial Day, winning the Gamely Stakes, Grade 1 company with Be Your Best, and the Grade 2 Hollywood Gold Cup with Skippy Longstocking. Santa Anita became Safy Anita on Monday. And our star of tomorrow, outfielder, owned by Jason Worth, trained by Wesley Ward, and maybe headed the Royal Ascot as that $850,000 yearling buy ran off and won by more than 6 lengths, 39 cents on the dollar. Our star of tomorrow is outfielder. Those 5 topics are now official because Jeff Siegel and I said so. Our best wishes and for a continued recovery out to our good buddy Jeff Siegel. We hope to have him back on the podcast when he's fit and ready to do so. For those of you who enjoy our handicapping podcast on Friday, be sure to join us this week as Scott Shapiro joins me for the First Call podcast. We'll handicap some weekend stakes races. A big weekend this weekend in racing includes the Stephen Foster preview day at Churchill Downs. That should be a good one. Looking forward to that. Saturday, if you're into the quarter horse game, it's Night of Champions at Remington Park, my old stomping grounds. I'll have some handicapping later this week on that as they have not only the Remington Park Invitational Championship, but they'll also run the $1 million plus Heritage Place Futurity. So a lot of great racing going on around the country this weekend. We've got Nisos back in action in the Triple Bend on Saturday at Santa Anita. So some star power pumping all around as we get set for the Belmont Stakes coming up in 2 weeks' time. On behalf of everybody with First Bet and Express Bet, I'm Jeremy Plonk. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you on Friday.